They say some secrets should never leave the shadows. But what happens when one crawls into the open, dragging behind it the blood soaked truth? This is the true story of a man known to many as Man of God, a respected figure whose church halls overflowed with worshippers every Sunday. But behind the suit, behind the pulpit, behind the holy oil was something else entirely. Before we continue, don't forget to like this video, hit the subscribe button, and turn on the bell icon because what you're about to hear will shake your spirit. It all started on a dusty Monday morning in Ogun State, Nigeria. The police had mounted a routine checkpoint along the Segamu-Benin Expressway. They weren't expecting much, maybe expired vehicle documents or a car with no license plate, but what they got was something else entirely. A black Toyota Highlander approached, windows up, the engine humming smoothly. Nothing seemed off at first. The driver rolled down his window, greeted the officers with a calm smile, and identified himself. "I'm Pastor Elijah Adebayo," he said. "I'm coming from a ministerial retreat." The officers nodded. His appearance was polished, white collar, clean wristwatch, and Bible on the dashboard. But one of the junior officers, barely 2 years in service, noticed something strange. A smell, faint, metallic, sharp. He moved closer and asked to check the boot. The pastor hesitated. It was subtle, almost unnoticeable, but enough to raise suspicion. The officer insisted. With a reluctant nod, Pastor Elijah stepped out, hands shaking just slightly. He moved to the back and popped the trunk open. And there it was. Two freshly severed human heads, wrapped in black nylon, tucked beside a jerry can and a suitcase. Time stood still. The senior officer staggered backward. One of them vomited by the roadside. Another reached for his radio, hands trembling, voice cracking as he called for backup. The pastor didn't run. He didn't argue. He didn't cry. He simply folded his arms and smiled. When they asked him to explain, he whispered one sentence. "Not everything from God comes clean." The officers were stunned. What was he talking about? Was this some kind of ritual? Was he mentally unstable? He was taken to the station immediately. The human heads were confirmed to belong to two young male victims reported missing a week prior in Ibadan, students of a local polytechnic. The connection between them and the pastor? None. Or so it appeared. Interrogations began. Day turned to night. And with every hour, a darker picture emerged. Pastor Elijah, now stripped of his titles and robes, sat calmly in the interrogation room and told his story. He claimed the heads were offerings, a term the investigators could barely process. He said his church wasn't just a ministry, it was a covenant, and that for the past 10 years, his growth had not come from preaching but from collecting, one by one, every December. He told them about a group, an elite gathering of supposed religious leaders scattered across the country, all masked behind churches, all feeding something ancient. He said it started when he was struggling to grow his congregation, no tithes, no followers, no influence. Then one night, a man visited him. In his own words, he walked in wearing a white robe, but his eyes, they were empty. That man offered him a path, a way to fill the seats, a way to become known. The price? A head, once a year. The reward? Power, wealth, protection. The pastor accepted, and it worked. The next Sunday, over 100 people showed up at his church. His prayers began to heal. His oil started to work. Donations flooded in. He bought a new house. He was featured on TV. People called him a miracle machine. But behind closed doors, he was traveling to villages, finding runaways, orphans, vulnerable youths, and preparing his sacrifice. His most recent victims were abducted through a fake revival event where he promised scholarships and free mentorship to young students. The two boys never made it back. The officers didn't believe him at first. They thought he was delusional, but then they found the photos. Dozens of them stored in a hidden drive in his phone, each one time-stamped, each one dated around December of every year. Victims, ceremonies, masked men, and then the messages. A group chat of 5 users, all using biblical names as their aliases. Levi, Elisha, Moses, Zadok, and John. In the chat, they shared details about their sacrifices, amounts to expect, methods of preservation, police contact codes to avoid. It was a network, a horrifying one. As the investigation grew deeper, the police realized they had only scratched the surface. There were more like him, possibly dozens, each hiding behind churches, robes, anointing oils, and crusades.